I fucking hate doing intros. Okay, so oh, you know what? We'll just fucking start it here, saying as we're both staring at each other. Yeah, we're doing a recap for the ICL Summer Series, saying as we've just reached playoffs. It's gonna be me with BooCull, and for once, BooCull is not the host, so he can't be center of attention. We'll talk about what I want to talk about, sort of boy, as he normally is. How's it going, BooCull?
I'm pretty good. You say I'm not the center of attention, but you can't stay away from me. Keep bringing me back.
Yeah, I mean it. No one else was really about, and plus, I know you're a reliable set of fans, and yeah,
It's
most
like,
people who probably have a bit more clout are also a bit more ropey, or they don't do video content.
yeah.
Like
Oh
fuck,
well.
fuck reaching out for Cass. That's a separate video. That's a drama video about him and fucking Adam's Midnight Toasty. Which obviously we'll get into that further down the line. I know we probably have some different opinions with that whole debacle, but
Looking forward to it.
you played or are still playing. Well, obviously you are out now. Spoiler alert! But
Yeah.
you played a couple of matches in Group A for Group Stage speedrun. How was your experience in the tournament thus far? Well, I suppose your tournament's done now, but
Yeah.
how was your
It,
experience?
it was unfortunately named the group stage speedrun, as we
Yeah,
didn't actually make it out of the group stage. I mean, it was a speedrun because we got knocked out very fucking fast,
yeah,
but it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was unfortunate. I mean, probably should share the full roster just to give a shout out to everyone. So it was myself, Mushi Marcus, Bizdy, Quigs, Long, Nuncle, and Noah. And it was fun. Like the team kind of came together just as a bit of a last minute thing. We like myself, Nuncle, and Long kind of had the idea that we wanted to play. Long was just around whenever he was around, so he'd
yeah,
be more of a sub. Um, but our kind of passion died for it towards the end. We got a lot of unfortunate results. We had a lot of overtimes and close games that
yeah,
really could have gone our way, and they didn't. I think both maps against WIT were overtime, and we lost both. And things like that. We just put ourselves in an awkward enough position. But it was a good experience overall. I think yeah, had we won against WIT both those games, I think we probably would be in a different situation. We
yeah.
probably would have made it out of groups, and we probably would have cared a little bit more as well. But overall,
Yeah,
it was
no,
good.
definitely. I think that's probably the problem a lot of teams ran into, especially over on Group B. You had a lot of forfeits come in
Yeah,
the last couple of weeks, but we'll get to them in a bit. Obviously, with Group A in general, we'll just sort of run through. So, Magma Gaming, 12 points, Miram Dons on 10, Munch Bunch on 10, WIT plus Clubenji on 9, and then Adams Midnight Toasties with 7 points, Group Stage Speedrun with 6, and One Tap Langers with 2. What what team do you want to start off with? Because you have experience with the majority of them. I think you didn't play one or two games here or there, but
yeah.
obviously, what team would you like to start off and just sort of give a general idea? Because obviously, we'll go into more detail with the actual playoff teams. But in general, is there any teams that we're not going to go as hard in the paint that you kind of want to talk about? Probably not.
Well, I think the team that I mainly want to highlight is the top of the table, and
Yeah,
I think everyone kind of knew what was going to happen there. I mean, bar one circumstance within that, I'm sure we'll get to. But Magma Gaming, I think were probably the most interesting. I mean, they had the highest average elo out of everyone in the tournament,
yeah,
so everyone kind of assumed as well, being captained by Cass, everyone kind of assumed a certain standard.
perpetual winner.
Yeah, he just comes in and collects checks, doesn't he? And as along with Adam JC, who's a player I find really fun to watch. He's just really flashy. So I think they're just the team that I highlighted from the start that would probably go on to win it. And we'll
Yeah.
we'll go through, I'm sure, the playoffs in the next stage and who they're matching up against and how well that'll turn out. But I think realistically, this is their tournament, and it has been from the start.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. I think even whenever me and Drags did the preview, they were just we didn't even really say too much about them. We just said, yeah, they're probably gonna win the whole thing. Okay, who
Yeah,
else can we talk about, sort of thing. And moving
yeah.
on from that, I think Miram Dons is another team that was kind of placed reasonably highly just because of some of the players they have on, which will it let me bring it up? It will just from this. So you have Dr. Cock, Shirley. L-
Lamau.
yeah, Dan Thiessen, Suicide, Orkin, Dan 16, and unfortunately Otter, all the way down there in the subs bench, didn't play a game, is now actually as retired as he's ever been. which is
Yeah.
surprising. But yeah, they were kind of highlighted quite well. But I quickly just didn't bother with them just because I think the first week or the first day they played two, and they played against Magma Gaming and Munch Bunch, which
Yeah.
arguably were their biggest rivals, and lost
Yeah.
2-0 to both of them.
Yeah.
Obviously it could be an off day or whatever, but I'm actually sort of surprised to see that they hit second, above Munch Bunch and even WIT to a lesser extent. But we'll get on to that because obviously they fucking handled them on
Yeah.
Friday, so they did. Tried to get them on that, but obviously challenger mode completely fucked up, which I can say because I'm not. This isn't ICL, so thankfully. But yeah, any opinions on Myrmidons? Did you actually get to play them, or did you miss out in
I
that game?
wasn't in that game, unfortunately, but I kind of going into it, I actually thought before I knew a lot of the Magma guys and before I actually looked at the average elo stats, I kind of thought on paper, just given how Shirley sometimes can pop off in these
Yeah.
tournaments, I was like, this team is something else. And for the record as well, Dan TSN is complex.
Oh right,
So
okay.
so he's very good as well. Dr. Cock, you know what you're getting. Like he's a
Yeah,
strong player as well. I'm not really too familiar with Lamowel and Suicide, but like Dan 16, very good. Has historically placed quite well in the ICL events as well.
yeah, and
So I
Orkin
thought,
as well is quite solid
yeah,
most of the time.
yeah. So I thought it was actually a good team. And like I said, like I kind of thought, yeah, they definitely would get out of groups. I don't think there was a question about that. But interesting comparison. I don't know how I didn't know how they'd match up against the likes of Munch Bunch. Like I could see them dropping maps here or there.
Yeah,
Like I could visualize them losing to a strong Kerbenji side, for
yeah,
example.
exactly.
And I
Um,
kind of felt like maybe Shirley had an off tournament, they wouldn't have done as well. But obviously the other guys are pretty good, and they finished second, which is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of echo that. I think what probably turned me off was just the swagger because I remember they weren't being cast at all, which you're probably going to notice throughout this episode. It's going to be a lot of BooCull actually having in-depth knowledge of some of these teams and me just sort of spouting off my personal opinion, which was just they were sort of like, oh, is there going to be no casting for the best team in the tournament? And then obviously
Right.
they went 0 for 4 that day, which it was
That's brutal.
bliss. Like, but yeah, as you're saying, like Shirley, from what I remember, every weekend, every tournament he played in, it was literally the Shirley clutch show. It was
Mm.
just 1v2, 1v1, didn't matter. He was pretty much like 2014 Get Right in that sense, just constantly
Yeah.
coming out with clutches. So I had initially I had an idea that they'd be good, as you said, but I'm surprised to see them second, and I think they kind of got handed that by the next team we'll talk about, which obviously is Munch Bunch, because Munch Bunch finished on 10 points as well. Could have
Yeah.
easily finished much stronger because they went, I think they went 1 for 1, like multiple times. If I take a scroll here, 1 for 1
Yeah.
with WIT, 1 for 1 with Adams Midnight Toasties. Okay, not multiple times, but the only time they beat you guys straight 2-0, and they beat Myrmidons 2-0 and lost 2-0 to Magma. So those two 1 for 1s just shouldn't really be happening.
Yeah, I think the WIT one's more excusable than the latter.
Yeah,
I mean, I actually think WIT are a solid team, and I think
yeah,
Kerbenji's
yeah.
a phenomenally talented player. He's something else. And they are the only I mean, some of those lads are on scholarship. They're probably the only paid Irish Counter Strike players out there right now. So
Which
they
is
can put,
it's just funny, like.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a whole other topic, but I won't even get into that. But I think that's kind of fair enough. You know, WIT, they can pull some stuff out of the bag the odd time. But losing to Adams Midnight Toasty is, I mean, like those lads are nice, but that's not a team you should be losing to. And like, I honestly don't know how that happened. That's not excusable. I
Yeah,
think that's probably something that would have been had they 2-0 that like they would have been second. So
yeah,
I
comfortably,
mean,
like.
yeah, they got to be kind of kicking themselves about that. I'm sure.
Yeah, because obviously we'll quickly run through. It's Ivar, Nico, Pinhead, Larry, Trill, and Consor, which essentially is just the QB A team. Which fuck the stupid names that they make up for themselves, like because they don't want to hurt people's feelings by saying right you're on the D team. But like they're all really solid players. I think it possibly just came down to what always kind of happens to Munch Bunch is maybe they overplay it a little bit, over egg the pudding sometimes on some rounds, because
Yeah.
if you go through them individually, like Pinhead Larry's obviously their top dog, most of the time. Consor, obviously it was against one tap langers, but
Yeah,
he can have a really solid showing with the op. Just can't.
it's.
He's
I was
actually,
going to highlight him. Yeah,
yeah, he's really consistent, even though he may not have the same highs as a Pinhead Larry. But anytime he does have a high, it's not a massive difference from his standard. Nico as well, which is someone where I think Consor in my video with him basically said that Nico was a little bit of a, he likes to play a little bit supporty. He'll be the one with nades and stuff. But whenever you do let him just on a tear, he also can just take over sites. So sometimes it feels like they might be a little bit restricted off not wanting to go off the sheet. Like I was listening, I don't know if you watch Thorn and Maui Snakes thing, Snake and Banter.
yeah,
Yeah, and they were talking with Valde about Zaiwu. And obviously
yeah,
I'm not gonna fucking compare some of these players to Zaiwu. But one of the things I think is the problem is back in the day, it looked like when something was called, Zaiwu would go, right, that's I need to go do this, but I have a feeling I'm about to get peaked here, or I have a feeling I have a pick here. Spend 5 seconds doing that and then go back to your team. And now it looks like Ziwu just instantly hears something's called, immediately leaves, regardless of what he thinks gonna happen. I think that might happen to a couple of these players where maybe something gets called and they jump immediately. Whenever given a couple more seconds, you might have an open site and the mid run call changes just to go there, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. I think even you highlighted the one tap langers game, and like I think that was the Conzor show. Like
Mm,
everyone had a good performance there, but like watching him, like we did a little meme cast of that on one of our own channels, and he's something else.
yeah,
Like I've watched his statistical and strategic breakdowns before, and like he's obviously got a good head on his shoulders.
yeah,
But like you don't think of him sometimes as maybe this actually like really good hopper,
yeah,
but he took a few rounds on his own. Even though like against a team that's not as good at like one tap langers, they took it rounds surprisingly slow sometimes. Like
yep,
if you're playing against a team that is so heavily like so much worse than you, no offense. Like you'd think you kind of just rush A, get it done in 20 minutes. But
yeah,
these guys
exactly.
really they played like you'd think they would. They played for map control. Someone gets a pick, they move around based on that, which is like maybe overkill. Maybe that could be why they're losing the games, like you were kind of saying.
Yeah, because you kind of it's an age old discussion. You open yourself up sometimes,
Yeah.
to random ass plays. And to be fair, it was extra painful because it was so hot here. I wanted that game done like fucking
Yeah.
20 minutes early. But to be fair, like it gets them the win. Sometimes they might drop a map, but they haven't lost flat out to anyone that they shouldn't. Obviously dropping the map here or there is going to give them a slightly rougher seed, but it happens, unfortunately, and I think that's just sort of the consistency that a team like Magma Gaming have over everyone else, because Munch Bunch have showed that they can beat pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
But as I said, we'll go into them a little bit more whenever we're talking about individual matchups. WIT Vikings plus Kerbenji. I'll
Yeah.
quickly run through the roster first, and then I'll let you go with anyone in particular, which obviously we both know where you're going to go with that. Flip, Jalabus, Kerbenji, Dimtop, 11XNT. Do we know? Is there an easy way? I think it's just Alan, isn't it? Alan XNT or something like that.
I've always just called him 11XNT to be honest.
Oh, it's such a mouthful.
Yeah.
Adzo, Near, and Xantez.
Yeah.
Xantz? Something like that. Yeah, so obviously you're just gonna out of the gate, I imagine, highlight Kerbenji.
Yeah, I mean, also just for the record, I think Jalabus was a sub, so I think they normally have Adzo and Nier in place of Dimtop and Jalabus. I'm pretty sure of that. I know
Yeah,
11XT, Kerbenji, and
Philip.
Flipper are like the kind of the go-to.
Near is definitely in there
Yeah,
quite often, and Adzo as well, because I know they were looking for someone to fill for that
yeah,
last match.
yeah. I think this is stupid, but the WIT results came out for their exams one like just before the games, and all the lads went to go out getting pissed. So some of them couldn't actually make it to some of the games. I'm pretty sure. At least that was I was organizing a game with one of the captains, and they said that was going on, which is
Yeah, and as well to right. Obviously, it's not super professional, blah blah blah. But that you immediately jump to second seed if you do anything that game. Just
yeah.
saying.
Yeah, well, sure. Look, yeah, I think it's a good side. A lot of people kind of skip over them. I'm a little salty because we went to two overtime games. I think the first map was double or triple overtime, and we lost it. And then the one was just normal overtime. And obviously, you're going to be heartbroken if you do that.
Yeah,
But they were more resilient than us. They were a good side. And like you said, I'm going to highlight the go-to. The team's called WIT Vikings in Kerbenji. It should be Kerbenji and WIT
yeah,
because
pretty much.
he's really just something else. Like if he wants to, and if he's arse with it, he'll take the game into his hands. And that's not to downplay the skill of the other guys. I know Nier is very good as well. I think he goes by World in ICL, or one of them goes by World in ICL, and he's level 10, phenomenally good. Like you'd be surprised because Kerbenji just overshadows everyone that
Yeah,
much, which is just a testament to how good he is. Like playing against him, I've played against him for a few years now, whether it's in this or if it's in like various ice competitions and stuff. He's always got the better of me. I mean, he's infinitely better, but I think he's like top 30 in Ireland based on
yeah, something
Elo.
like that.
Like he's really, really gifted.
Yeah, and I think obviously as a team in full, they've managed to rely quite heavily that everyone just fucking lets them play Inferno. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not anything special. We can get into that a little bit more whenever we're looking at the individual matchups between the teams. But yeah, like I didn't really have much hope for this team. The way me and Drag sort of looked at it was just Kerbenji and who the hell like who are these other guys? WIT Vikings obviously had quite a solid placing in
Mm.
the ice season that had just passed. I think they surprised a couple people. But yeah, as you said, it's all on Kerbenji. And the other guys do get things done from time to time, but I think it's just slightly lesser individual decision making as well. The first game against Munch Bunch that I saw them lose on overpass, you had stupid shit like when they're battling for B short control, WIT on CT side, they had it was WIT on T side, sorry. They lost a guy in short, so the connector player swung out to try to trade, not realizing there was a guy on short just holding the connector door. And it's just stuff like that where they seem to get tunnel visioned every now and again and don't
Mm.
take into consideration that, there's fucking 10 angles you're peeking. It's just small mistakes like that that maybe make it ever so slightly for Kabanchi to drag people across the line. But
Yeah.
if they know where the person is, their crosshair is more than capable of going to the head. Like,
I also think strategically as well, there isn't a huge amount of depth.
nah,
We came across them and we actually did. This is when we were really trying to see what we could get done. And we actually went through some of their demos and we found we got away with so much. We took them on their Inferno because we went through it
yeah,
and we saw, holy fuck, every time they've played it, they've done the exact same thing. They have these tells, if someone throws this smoke, it's not a fake. And
yeah,
they do like their fakes, but we were able to identify it a good bit. And we got away with a lot of stuff. We could stack 3 or 4 people on a site because we were able to identify, okay, they've done this every time. I think it was like they threw a coffin smoke on Inferno T side, and if they throw that, it's not a fake and they're committing. Whereas
yeah.
they know their fake would just be the CT smoke and a
CT
flash
and
and a
try to
Molotov smoke.
bait something out. Yeah,
It was something like that, and we were like, okay, wow, they really let us do that because they just kind of relied on the same basic stuff, and it works. It works. They could run in with their and take everyone's head off, but they kind of had they maybe had a little bit more depth, and obviously not everyone wants to put the time in practice and all this, but maybe a little bit more practice once a week, develop something new for a different game because
yeah.
anyone that wants bothers their whole to watch a demo can kind of see what's going on with them.
Yeah, but I mean that's like shooting yourself in the foot because you've just admitted that you could read them like a book and you still didn't beat them.
Yep,
So that's
I didn't realize that.
unfortunate. But I think also that plays into their favor a little bit that it is so simple, but it works. So every team who watches a demo just assumes, right, fuck it, we'll take them on their best map.
Yeah,
And I think that might be because I was talking to Cornflake, we can transition on that team in a second, and he basically said like I was arguing with him saying why does every team let WIT have Inferno, and he said well we're pretty comfortable on Inferno, so we were just doing it for us. And it's like, okay, if you're a lesser team, you probably want to be surprising these better teams. So
yeah.
but because everyone thinks they can take WIT on Inferno, it's why they have a record of.
Oh,
I don't think they've lost on Inferno.
you'd be
Yeah,
so close.
they lost there against Myrmidons, but against everyone else they were 4-0. I haven't updated all these stats for the last week there, but it was only banned once against them, and that was by Magma. But Magma just have perma bans
Okay, yeah.
um, and they can afford to because they're fucking unreal. Um, And then, so we'll jump on at Adam's Midnight Toasty here. Obviously talking about Cornflake, which the roster is Cornflake, Darkness, Chromac, Ultra, Simole, is it? Uh,
Samal.
Monk, Complex, Jack 7B.
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
it's there's obviously Darkness would probably stand out kind of heavily there. Yeah, because he had that ace clip as well against you guys, which you did dust them off, which I personally was sort of like, for fuck's sake. We could have had a meme team in the playoffs, but it is what it is. Anyone other than Darkness stood out there, or do you want to just, raise his ego a little bit?
Well, I'll come back to Darkness. The team's called Adam's Midnight Toasty. Just a correction for you here. It should really be Cornflakes Midnight Toasty
Yeah.
because the
Oh,
Adam, the
yeah.
complex who made this team, not Dan Complex, he ditched the team and put the team in a bad spot. Just throwing a little bit of shit out there. I know him well, so I can do it. Yeah. So credit to Cornflake. He picked up the slack. He was not meant to be an IGL, and if you've played with him before, he should never be an IGL. But
Yeah.
he picked it up when he had to, and he kind of picked up these crumbs of a team and made a slice of bread with it,
Yeah.
which is the weirdest metaphor I've ever done with.
Yeah, but I think that kind of it's weird because I wouldn't have put Cornflake as even like a strong personality. It's not, obviously it's not to say that he's got no spine or anything, but like just I've had very limited interactions with the man, and he sort of seems like not subdued, but he would possibly be one of the latter people to talk. Like
Really?
it. Well, at least when the interaction I've had. By the way, I think your internet's taking a little bit of a shit.
Oh,
Um,
really?
the audio was out of sync.
Oh shit! Is it okay now?
Nah, it's still out of sync.
Do you want to? I'll rejoin. It
Yeah,
could be Discord.
yeah. Hopefully that doesn't upset
Yeah.
everything you can.
Oh fuck. Well, do you want me to try?
Yeah, might as well. Like, I can take 2 seconds to fix it and just cut everything.
Okay, great. Okay. It's more likely my webcam or something, because my internet's fine.
Yeah, no, you're good now. No, well, there was a second there where your voice dropped in and out, and then it slowed down and sped back up.
Yeah, I think my mic does that as well. I don't know what it is.
For
Yeah,
fuck's sake.
I've got beautiful internet, so it's never the internet. It's always something else.
Yeah. Nah, so as so you were surprised with what I said about Cornflake there?
Oh yeah. So yeah, Cornflake actually is like very, very vocal, probably to a fault in most of his games. He gets very invested in his games, but I can kind of see what you mean. Like he wouldn't really be like in an ICL hub game, for example. He wouldn't be the one to call the shots.
Yeah,
But if he was in a random solo queue pug or in this team, he really was the one to step up and take the mantle. But then going through the rest of the team, Chromac was a sub for the record, by the way. They were meant to have Complex in there, and he didn't show up. And then, yeah, I think Darkness Dorocatus, the Irish, was what he was going by. He really was the star player for me. I mean, statistically, Simole did better.
yeah,
But for what Darkness did for the team, obviously I'm not in the team, so all of this is pure speculation. But talking to him, he keeps his head quite level. Not
yeah,
only that, like I know within the team, Cornflake was on record to say to me before that he won't team with a lot of these guys again because of some of the issues. A lot of them refuse to listen to him, and obviously Cornflake Dylan being a lower level, you could see why like Simol, who's level 10, wouldn't want to listen to him. But at
yeah,
the same time, you do need a uniform, centralized structure in a team to keep everyone organized and have a tier, have a game plan. And Darkness, who's a good player, who's probably too good for this team, he listened and he played his role, which was do everything he feasibly can to
yeah,
win them the round. And they played us so much closer than they ever should have. And
yeah,
I think Darkness had a weaker game on Mirage, but he was the only one kicking on Inferno, and he got that clip, that ace. So I think they were not a bad team considering they were a bit of a meme. Like I'm very glad I didn't for my blood pressure, but I was going to bet €1,000 to Cornflake that he wouldn't beat us, and that game got very close.
Jesus Christ.
And the heat as well, so I was already fucking sweating during that game. So if there's €1,000 on the line as well, I was very close. But
Nah, that's just dumb. I do want to say though, that fucking boils my piss whenever you have someone standing as the IGL
yeah,
and you just don't listen. Because in my opinion, if you're not gonna listen, then you fucking call the shots. see how it feels. Because even if you have, the way I've always thought about it is, if you have 5 people doing different things, 2 of them could be doing the right thing, 3 of them not, you're going to lose the round. If you have 5 people doing the wrong strat, you might still win. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So even if Dylan makes the wrong call every round, you might still, because there's 5 of you working together, you might still just fucking, through dumb luck, get at least like 4 rounds or something. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it is a little bit fucking annoying, but obviously mid-season, there was an issue where Amsman Night Toasty defaulted Magma Gaming, which probably boosted them in the standings a little bit. What do you know about the situation, or what's your opinion, sort of?
From what I know, you obviously would know a lot more. There was scheduling conflict, and one they both say different things. Both sides
Yeah,
are saying pretty much different things. But from what I know, they tried to agree on a time, and someone wasn't replying to the other person, and it came up to the default day. It kind of snuck up on them, and they didn't really realize. And one team made the decision that they would default. It was a team decision, apparently,
yeah, that's what
and
I've heard.
they went with it, and obviously that resulted in a lot of shit talking. Obviously the Magma guys weren't happy, and of course, like, I get when people say it probably wasn't good sportsmanship, and like, that kind of does make sense, especially in like what is a pretty casual tournament. Like, people did pay money for this, so I get
Yeah.
getting any advantage you possibly can. But I mean, yeah, I definitely do understand why someone would say it's not really a sound thing to do. It's not really nice, but competition's competition. And if you're not going to schedule your games on time, you kind of got to suffer the consequences.
Okay. No, I'm glad then we're both on the same page. Magma just need to shut the fuck up and deal with it.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know, like, if you're not gonna, because even from like a fucking casting perspective, scheduling this tournament has been absolutely shocking, and I don't understand how people, like, do people just generally not give a fuck if they're broadcasted or not? Because if you don't care, that's fine. The tournament can just stop broadcasting people, and then there'll be no tournament, because the only hope a tournament organizer has is of remotely making money is through sponsorships, because people don't want the money that they pay to go to the broadcast or anything like that. They want to go back to the players. So if you don't give a shit, then whatever. But I think whenever it comes to default and you're in a competitive tournament, as with Night Toasty, if they 2-0'd you guys, they make it through. And that, as you said, that got closer than it should have.
yeah,
And they
definitely.
took, as we've discussed previously, they took a map off Munch Bunch. So through default, and they almost made it to playoffs. And the veto and all is done on the challenger page for that match.
Yeah,
So it snuck up on them. From what I've seen, just in the public Discord chats, they were goading Cass a bit for not waking up.
yeah.
So
And then their tweets got around that went off a little bit.
I haven't came across them yet, unfortunately. But
Mm.
from what it seems, from like just piecing that conversation to them not scheduling, is there the potential that one person just didn't turn up? But whatever. At the end of the day, just take the default and move on. It's not like you guys aren't going to make it out of playoffs, so think of it
True.
as charity if you really want.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and then moving on, we kind of talked about your team. Is there anything else really you want to add?
Not other than, like, you know what, like, our passion died for it a little bit towards the end of the season, and we got a few unfortunate enough results. But I mean, we lost fair and square. WIT were kind of the ones that killed the dream a little
Yeah,
bit for us. But it was a fair team to go out to. I think, like, I just appreciate everyone playing. Like, it was good. It was a good time. We had the odd bit of internal issues just in terms of listening and baiting and all the rest. Everyone has that.
yeah.
But it was good fun, and like, I team with most of the lads again. Yeah.
Okay, very politically. And then
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, half an hour to get through one group. We'll just say about one tap langers. Thanks for paying money towards the prize pool, I
It
guess.
was a very generous donation.
Yeah. Nah, like one or two of their players are fairly decent. I got asked who my favorite one tap langers player was while Shiasi was in a chat, to which I
Yeah.
applied Kiratos.
Nice.
And that, yeah, people just fucking shilling for that. But anyway, yeah, no, like, this would have been my team back in the day, to be honest, just bombing out.
God.
Yeah, I was shite, but I was trying to make a lot out of nothing, so it is what it is. Moving over to Group B, we will slightly pacing this a little bit more because obviously we
Okay.
don't have the same sort of, we've played against, you've played against these individual players, but
Yeah.
obviously you weren't over in that group. So we have Washed on 13, Frisinko on 11, UICS on 11, Aroma on 9, OT Bandits on 5, Tato Clock on 5, Perman on 2, and Free Elos played their first game, forfeited the rest. So starting off with Wash, we have Dragsy, Ekip, Ledian, Bioko, who Danny wasn't it as well played mainly on this.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, because Static is in their starting lineup at the moment, but it's
He probably
normally,
just played the last game.
yeah, it's normally Danny, and then Aiden and Zurfer are also listed as possible substitutes. Um, Obviously Dragsy would probably be your all this roster is also really strong between Dragsy, Ekip, and Bioko. They would probably
Yeah.
be my core three for an Irish team that can't have fucking Cass and any of his associates in it. This is
Yeah.
probably your solid three. Obviously, you agree.
Yeah, I mean, this would be like the TUD killer. Like, there's no TUD core players on this. Like you said, Cass's boys. I definitely agree. I actually think, like, everyone knows Drags. Like, he's probably
Yep.
the best player in the scene right now. I know. My concerns were like he tweeted a while ago. I think he was pulling back from CS a bit, just with
So yeah, I asked him a little bit about it. He's pulling back from just like streaming and content sort of thing. He'll
okay.
still kick around in these tournaments.
Yeah,
But his philosophy was essentially, I've been locked inside for a year. If things are gonna return to normal, I wanna like avail myself of real life again.
yeah.
So
Okay, that's fair enough.
respectable.
Yeah,
But
definitely. You can't blame him from it. Yeah, but I mean, I think like he's easily the best player. I definitely think he's top player in the scene in general. I actually think Bioko is also something else. Like he's
yeah.
so confident in every fight he takes, and he's consistent. I think he's a good IGL as well. I think he was IGLing for one or two of teams before. I think he's really just a strong all round player. And then Ekip as well. You know, he was the Trinity star player, the only good player on that team, and he's just a solid player as well. I think it is a strong team. I wasn't sure though, before had I been on your preview thing, which I didn't get invited to, I actually would have probably bet on Free Cinco being better than them. I'm a little surprised to see that Washed finished ahead, but what would you put above the two of them?
I didn't really get watching all too much. I did watch the head to head. Let me pull out my little black strap book. Um, yeah, I actually, whenever I watch demos, I write it down as opposed to type it because I don't know why, but kind of weird that way. Um,
Was it 2-0?
yeah, so so I mainly focused on Overpass because that is Washed's consistent pick. And it just sort of had the difference kind of seemed to be like Washed's mid rounding was just really fucking solid. Like they would constantly just shut down mid round. They would just stop, and then they would just always seem to make the right call, or they would give Bioko enough time. They gave Bioko enough time a couple rounds because I assume he had a read. He would get the kill. They would instantly go round to him. So they just sort of seemed to like slow it down at the right time. And then their CT side and overpass is also you're running into. Okay, well not shit talk. You're running into 5 Gatling guns basically,
Yeah,
wherever you went, and because this is a team that like to beat this team, you're not gonna get them clean. You're not gonna take all 5 of them out without losing anyone. So you're gonna get into a couple clutches. And are you clutching against Dragsy or Bioko?
no,
Nah,
no, no.
not a chance. Ekip definitely not. The only person you would really want in here on top of that is also Churley because
Yeah,
clutches for days. But with this 5, they're just unbeatable on some of these rounds, and I think that's
yeah.
kind of what set them apart to Free Cinco, which we will kindly jump over to now. Which the lineup is Jackman, Hawk, Cinco, Ventic, silliest unicorn you've ever saw with Flash, Han, and Xeno. Yes, something like that in the subs. I believe Han played a couple of games for them, did he?
I think he's actually one of their mains. I think he's just
Over, I think
yeah,
it's over Hawk, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
That rings a bell. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so what's your sort of stand here? Because yeah, there is a lot of solid fraggers here. So I think I probably know where you're gonna go though.
I mean, they've got some like pretty big names on this. Like, there's really there's no obvious flaw. You think like you've watched, you could probably pick one or two players that probably wouldn't be as good. Like, there's pretty clear drop off from the top three to the bottom two on Wash, I would say. But on Free Cinco, like, it's just five superstars. That's why I kind of thought they'd be like the Phase Clan, essentially. Back when Phase Clan were good and relevant.
That's the problem.
Um, yeah, but I'm maybe a little disappointed that they couldn't just. I kind of thought they just run through everyone, but I would maybe say, I mean, it's hard to pick. Ventic has obviously got like the probably the strongest name in that.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows him. Cinco probably has a pretty big name as well. Maybe not for the right reasons, but he's also like he's been cleared and he's a good player. Jackmon solid. Desilis Unicorn as well. Him and Han, like they're a solid duo. They play a good bit together as well, from what I know. Even throw Jackmon in there as well. I think I don't find a flaw in the team at all.
Yeah, I think it might even so the reason they finished below was they drew a map to Roma, which
Yeah, I don't.
is kind of unforgivable. Obviously, they lost 2 to Washed as well, but then Washed also, I think they dropped a map maybe somewhere. I'd have to go back and check, but if memory serves me right, I think they dropped a map to someone. I mean, it could just come down to maybe. Because, like, yeah, so you've got Ventic, who's obviously a pretty huge name, and then
Mm,
Cinco is a really solid player. But looking at Wash, like, the 3 that we highlighted, they're so experienced.
mm,
Like, Bioko's always making it deep in ice. Ekip, yeah, okay, sometimes Trinity struggle a little bit whenever you narrow the field. But they make it to playoffs, all the time. Like, these
yeah.
are really yes, they have a lot of experience. But then you look at Jackman, DeSillis, Unicorn. They're both really solid fraggers. The problem is, like, they sometimes, maybe, I don't know, maybe the pressure can get to them a little bit.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't really think so, but they would stand out as the 2 players to me that, not because they're not skilled, but maybe just knowing what to do in every situation might let them down ever so slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think like Jackmon's a really solid player, but and his NCI team, which people wouldn't have put too far ahead of everyone else back in one of the ice seasons recently enough, they finished really well. I think they got like to the semifinals. I remember Jackmon
Yeah,
saying he got a bit nervous. He didn't really have the game he wanted to, but he was capable of, considering he'd be top 2 player on that team easily.
yeah,
And then like there probably is less experience on Free Cinco than Watch. Like the core, even just between Drags and Bioko, there's just so much there.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and like maybe some of the other guys are a little bit newer to the scene, like even in terms of lands and stuff. Like just Drags and Bioko have been around a lot longer, and they have that confidence. Every fight they take, they know I've beaten guys like this hundreds of times.
Yeah,
Like maybe
exactly.
there's a bit. It's a like I wouldn't peek into Drags and feel confident I'm going to win it. You know, I mean these guys are a lot better than me, so maybe they'd feel confident. But yeah, I still think it's a solid team. I mean, like if they weren't going to get number one, they were always going to get number two.
Yeah, nah, definitely. I suppose that's the best way you could really sum up this group as well. The top 2 were always kind of decided. So
Yeah.
moving on, then we have UICS, which is Cartel, Fletcher, MC Fletcher, the owner, by the way, MCN has, and Felixo, and then with M Watson 36 on the bench and Hexen. Don't really know the last 2 guys, but obviously the standout name, at least to me, would sort of be the fact that Fletcher's here, because he has been around forever. He's kind of like the furniture at this point, and he seems to have, because I remember specifically being put out of a qualifier by a team that he sort of was behind, where it was a couple like fraggers, and then he, not that he can't frag, but he is the one that seems to get these teams together that just pack a punch out of
Mm.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, so he would sort of be my standout this team. Obviously, finishing third, they
Equal
did,
points.
yeah, they did quite strong. You look, they went 1-for-1 with Washed, and then lost 2-0 to Free Cinco, which, yeah, like a big ups for him as well to getting that 1-1 to Washed. Who would you? Did I take your pick? Probably not.
No, I mean Fletcher has a really, really strong track record of having a brilliant brain for the game.
Yeah,
He's so experienced, but also he's got a lot of experience with the right kind of experience. Like his experience isn't necessarily, obviously it comes with it, but he's not in aimbots all the time,
Yeah,
and he's not going to be the top fragger in the server, but he's going to be the best brain. He's got the most IGL experience probably out of everyone in the scene. And I do think, like what you said, he can really just put clusters of players together that maybe don't know each other. I'm not sure what the background is with these guys, if they know each other well or whatever. But I reckon he could probably find 5 people from any team or every team in this tournament, and he could probably make a solid team out of them with a good bit of practice and stuff. But I'd probably actually say MCN or McNally. He's got a pretty good track record of doing well in tournaments. He's an individually strong player. I
yeah.
don't know him too well personally. And Cartel's also a pretty big name. But like actually, even I saw Felix in one of their games early on popping off. Like I think they've just got a solid team all around.
Yeah, I'm sort of like looking at the way they play. It's very procedural. It's very flash people in for map control, wait to execute on the site sort of thing. Like they are just, you can tell it's Fletcher's DNA sort of running through them. It's
Yeah,
everything they do seems to have a purpose. Everyone knows what they're doing. The problem they had against Washed is just you ran into the wall. Washed knew how to play them. They just backed off. They're like,
yeah,
right, fine, you can have middle on overpass, you can have short B, whatever. You still have to come onto the site and shoot us. So that maybe is where you ICS fall below a free Cinco and a washed. It's just the
yeah.
head to head. But when it comes to actual like structure and knowing what you're doing, you ICS are like they're more Munch Bunch than Munch Bunch have been this tournament,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
I would say UICS are probably the best team
Yeah.
in the group, maybe in the tournament, because they look, even if they are not like what we would say about QB or the Munch Punchers, they're very well practiced. They're very everything they do together, and like we said, that's just coming from the centralized Fletcher brain, and it's handy to have. But that can only take you so far if you can only move your pawns so far if they're not being destroyed by the rest of the players in the server. And I can see like head to head, I don't see them winning their individual aim duels, like you said, against the likes of Washington Free Sunko.
Yeah, obviously not, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I was actually really impressed with you, I say this because I didn't really know these guys, so I didn't have too much of a high of opinion of them.
Yeah.
But as I said, they've really surprised me personally, at least. Which brings us on to incipients. Why do you always find yourself in these positions? Aroma, coming fourth in the group, you have Simplify, Mick, Incipients, Charlie, Figgy. Ponzi's a sub, but I don't think he's played any games for personal circumstances. So, I looked at this roster, and I'm not going to get banned from ICL, but I saw one player in particular, and I thought, Incipients, Adam, my man, why do you always put yourself in situations where there is most definitely going to be issues? I don't know if there has been this team, but just from watching someone stream in the past, yeah, there's one or two players I would avoid here. But obviously, I've highlighted them. Incipients would sort of be my caller if I'm looking at this team. Well, he may not call over Figgy ass, but he would be the person I'd maybe prefer to be the IGL.
Yeah.
Not even attitude specific, just the way they seem to sort of call a game. Figgy seems to be a little bit more, at least from the handful of games I've seen. You guys go here. I know I can work something here. You guys just figure your own shit out. Whereas Incipient seems to be very much making a call, going in with the squad because he knows in his head that this isn't going to be covered. So I'll cover that while my guys do this sort of thing. Um, he would sort of be my pick, at least from if I'm gonna try to be the who do I want as the IGL. Also, I would sort of pick him, but obviously I'm pretty sure Figgy's probably had a hand in
Yeah.
this team somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, Incipients is kind of like the obvious name here, I would say. Just, well, at least personally, like I know him well,
Mm.
and he does have a really good head on him. Whether he is as assertive as Figgy is loud, it's
Mm.
kind of hard to know. Like I'm sure Incipients would probably be the right guy to listen to, but under the pressure in a game, I don't doubt Figgy would come up with his opinion, whether right or wrong. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Um, but I honestly like. There's actually some surprisingly really good players. I mean, maybe not surprisingly. I didn't know this Charlie guy well. I know. I'm pretty sure I spoke to Figgy before. I think they might be teaming in an outside tournament, and that's how he brought him in. And I watched one or two games, or actually I casted a game with these guys, and Charlie was phenomenal. I have no idea where this guy came from, but he
yeah,
really every time he was winning deals. I don't know if he had life game that game, but from what I saw from him there, he was something else. And also, I actually rate Simplify really, really highly.
Yeah.
I think like I've played against him before, and he just doesn't die, and he can get away with so much. He's really versatile with rifles and an AWP. I've seen him win duels against actually good AWPers when he's just messing around with it. I think he's a really solid player. And then, yeah, like Figgy when he's on and like when he's in the right mindset for it, he's obviously a really good player. Like he didn't get to the level he is and the stature that he's at without being a bad player. He just maybe, like you said, maybe the odd attitude issues here or there. And then yeah, Incipiens himself. I don't know how much time he has. Like he's a busy guy. I was saying to you before.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has the time to maybe make this team what he would love it to be. I don't know how much they can practice. I don't know. It's not really the tournament that you need to practice, nor is it really maybe the group for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all around they're actually a pretty solid team. I didn't think they'd beat any of. I definitely didn't think they'd beat Free Cinco or Wash anyway.
Yeah, I would. It's rough to say, but out of all the playoff teams, I would probably say they're the bottom of the list, maybe tied with WIT Kerbenji. But yeah, as you said, like simplify. Our mine and Drags' thoughts about it was which simplify do you get? Because sometimes whether it's he doesn't really care or he has other things affecting him, he just sometimes can kind of disappear into smoke, some would say. But whenever he's there, yeah, he kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Nalco where he just does not give a shit and he'll just do whatever he wants,
Yeah.
because he knows he can, sort of thing. But as I said, yeah, probably towards the bottom of the playoff squad, and then we'll just run through the rosters sort of for the last couple of guys because who gives a shit. OT Bandits, you have Scott Eluxin, Ivo Hubbard or Ivo, Rem, Paxu, Wilhelm, Great Boy, which obviously I've said shit before, Roar. Anyone on this team you want to highlight? They just quickly while we're talking about them, they had no, they went 1-for-1 with Tito Clock, which whatever. Did they actually do anything else? I had it in my head that they did something else. They beat Paraman 2-0. So Paraman are worse than OT Bandits officially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if there's anyone to highlight. I think these guys kind of there's not really anyone that individually you would say would carry them through a game against any
Yeah.
of the top four. I didn't really expect much from them. I actually didn't think they'd even beat the Pearmen. I know that they got memed a little bit. That maybe the community standings of one of their captains or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, he had a very strict application process for joining this team, which looking at it now,
That's fucking classic. Like, I love when
yeah,
that happens.
yeah, they like I think it was like a level 6 or 7 was looking for level 8, 9 minimum, and they wanted all these criteria to be filled. I don't know. They got memed. It happens. Yeah, I can't really think. Like I know a couple of the guys here. I mean I know Great Boy, but he's a sub. Scott's been around for a good bit now. He's been in every pug you can find. He seems okay. Rem, yeah, like there's no one for me really to highlight as like the star, or I wouldn't even know who to look to as being the guy to carry them, kind of.
Yeah, the only thing I have heard about them is that they're at least Rem, because obviously he's the captain who you talked about having the application process. He sounds like, at least talking to one or two people, he sounds like a hard worker. Is
Yeah,
sort of his thought process behind wanting skilled people. He probably recognizes that he might not be as skilled, but he's willing to put the effort in if he can get people to frag, which unfortunately that is most definitely not what you got. Moving on to Tito Clock, we have Jack Balpin, but just Jack, Ve, Dimitri, Herm, Jay, Myrene or CS Bob, and Sisu. Yeah.
I think a lot of these guys are actually like old school. Like they get a lot of these guys have been around for yonks. Like
Yeah,
before I
I
was around the
remember
scene
them
or
back
anything.
in the day.
So yeah, I mean, like I don't know how much they actively play at all anymore. But
They're
like
young.
even
They're
looking at some of
young.
the names, are they?
I remember, so Dimitri and Curty, at least they were fucking younger than me back
All
whenever I
right,
was playing them.
all
Uh,
right. Well, maybe they're
yeah,
still around. I don't know.
maybe not in the Irish team, but yeah, a couple of these guys, like at least those two, and probably Jack as well, is either younger than us or around our age. But it's because they were attending tournaments way, way back. Um,
Yeah,
so fair enough. I think that they might have actually teamed with Mick. before he got his VAT ban. Um,
Right.
yeah, but anyway, yeah, I expected them to do a little bit better. I did watch them against Herman, and Curty was, I think it was Curty, was just
Yeah.
absolutely slapping the shit out of them. So
Yeah.
like even before that game, I kind of expected a bit better. I'll be honest. Me,
Yeah.
I would have placed them above OT Bandits easily.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I mean, man for man, I think they're definitely a more skilled team than the OT Bandits, but it's just whether maybe the
Yeah,
OT Bandits did a little bit more work or they're a little bit more arse. I don't really know the Tato Clock guys personally.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, I would have put them fifth. I think fifth would have been the perfect spot for them. Maybe they could have got fourth over Aroma. Maybe they beat that. Maybe it's kind of
yeah.
iffy.
And then jumping to our favorite topic. That's the word. I can speak. I promise. We have Pearman, which is Belong, Jeff, Ankle Joints, Anik, Kurt, and then you have Jambobo, Joe Biden, and Carzo as the substitutes. Oh, I fucking loved casting Pearman because I got so much mileage out of the Joe Biden jokes.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was beautiful. But um lost everything apart from the first game they play. Not much to say. I'm always gonna like Long is obviously he's sort of the IGL everywhere he goes sort of thing. I like Kurt both as a player, some like he can frag. He's not very consistent though, but he can frag and lovely guy. But yeah, they just shit the bed.
Yeah, I think actually this team could have been quite good, but there was definitely like some scheduling issues with them. Like
Yeah,
some of them were working a lot. Like Jambobo's individually really, really good, but maybe a little inconsistent. I don't know, but he definitely would be better than the OT Bandits guys
yeah.
alone. And for the record, Joe Biden is Fran or Frano. Um,
Yes, okay.
he is individually I don't want to suck his cock, but he's fucking amazing. Like he's
He was doing
individually
pretty solid,
so
yeah.
skilled. I almost wanted to go as far as doing a little video or something on the tragedy of Frano because he's one of those guys that aren't that arse with the game, and he's kind of lost his passion for actually competing a little bit. Partially, probably because of my UCB team that
Yeah,
he was on. I'm sure that played a role, but individually, he is actually something else. And this team centered around him could have been something else, but I think he was away. I rate Jeff or Spinach very highly. He's a friend of mine anyway, but he's got a really good mind for the game. Like they actually could have had a really good team. Anik, surprisingly, who actually doesn't play the game, doesn't not really that arse with it. He actually had some phenomenal clips as well.
yeah,
It's just a shame, like Kurt as well. Like he's I think he holds the ICL Hub kill record, or at least he's top two on it, where he got 60 something kills in a game, maybe 70. It was like a
yeah,
crazy overtime game. Ankle joints as well. You know, he's maybe a little inconsistent as well, but like I've seen him pop off. Like they all could have been better, and I think maybe they didn't do their skill justice. I mean, it's fun to shit on them and stuff, but like
yeah,
I think fifth probably they could have beat Tato O'Clock. They could have beat OT Bandits. I'm surprised they didn't.
yeah, they should
Uh,
have been.
and like I think on an on day with their best possible roster, I think they could have given Aroma a run for their money. Maybe that's me talking on my ass, but individually, I think they probably do have the manpower there to put it together. And they beat Free Yellows to the point where Free Yellows then dropped out.
Yeah, I mean, it is worth noting against Aroma, they're playing Jeff, Kurt, Jambogo, Ankle Joints, and Belong, and they did not hit double digits, even including both rounds. So
Yeah,
unfortunate, but I kind of agree with you. They were sort of like my dark pick to make playoffs potentially if they really snowballed it. Like obviously with your outside pick, you gotta go for someone who won't. But yeah, I thought Paramount were probably going to do something. Instead,
yeah.
they did absolutely nothing. So where is it gonna go off the back of this? Probably just straight into the playoffs because it's been 55
Free
minutes
Yellows.
over. Nah.
Yeah,
They
fair.
because they forfeited after the first game. Who gives a shit?
Well, just for context, two of the guys, Jordan and Mac, were meant to be on a different team. This team was put together last minute, and they were never actually meant to enter as this five. These guys is meant to be Mac, Jordan, Ruben, Mister Turtle, and Darkness as a five, and then
That
because
sounds
of
like
some
such a better roster. Holy shit.
yeah, and like I know Mac and Jordan were good friends with like the likes of Ruben and stuff, but Ruben decided he didn't want to. He was like protesting something that was going on with the tournament. He decided he didn't really want anything to do with it. Fair enough, it happens. and he pulled out, and the rest of the team kind of fell apart. So they were
Yeah.
dispersed. So Darkness went to Adam's Midnight Toasty, and then Jordan and Mac decided to make last minute they'd make a team of level 1s to 3s, and this is exactly what happened. You saw that. So yeah, a
Yeah.
little context.
That's unfortunate. But moving into playoffs, will my thing update? No, it will not. So we'll just yeah. So we have first of all, so we'll go through the games, and depending on how much we want to speak to it, we could probably get into the vetoes a little bit if you wanted, because obviously I've got the sort of stats there. But
Okay.
Magma versus Aroma. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is easy.
Oh, I wonder who that's going to go to. Like, come on.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
Magma's obvious.
if I'm really gonna be pushed to actually talk about this game, yeah, Magma are gonna dumpster Aroma, which is unfortunate because some of these players, as we've said, are pretty good, but it's just unlucky, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just it honestly felt like this tournament, getting a good seed was vital.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been make or break. I don't really want to go through the time of figuring out had they won one more game, who they would have been against or whatever. But it's unfortunate. Look at the draw for Roma. I think, like, I know Simplify's good friends at Cast. I'm sure there'll be good memeing going on in that game, but I don't really see Roma making much of a dent in the Magma side at all. I don't, and that's unfortunate. That's not to say that the Roma guys aren't good or talented or whatever, but they're not as good as Magma.
Yeah, I'm just taking a very quick look. It's probably going to be something like an overpass, or like an overpass Mirage, sort of like the Puggier maps. They've both got permabans, whatever. It's not really gonna be the one that the map feed was not really gonna dictate
No.
this game too much at all. I imagine 2-0, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
both in agreement there. Thank fuck for that. Nice wee time saver. Thanks, Adam. Um, Free Cinco and Munch Punch then is the next game, which
I
is a bit more interesting, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm actually going to go free Cinco 2-0. And I actually, controversially, I was talking to Nathan or Decilius Unicorn. He is very confident going into the game.
Oh fuck yeah.
Um, like, and I kind of think that, I was kind of unsure because Munch Punch obviously are a good side. But I mean, I don't like their style. I don't know how well they'll come up against like some of the best fraggers in the scene.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of hard to see, as well as the fact that, like, I don't, you'd highlight Pinhead Larry as the Munch Punch best player, would you?
Yeah, probably just as a standard Nico if he really gets a good day.
I rate Conzor really highly, but I think that's just because he does so much.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think any of them really touch like a peak Cinco, Ventake, like even Han, who I don't know, maybe Han will be on the lower end of this team.
Yeah.
Right, probably not as good as Ventake, but I don't see any Munch Munch players beating Han in a 1v1 really. Um, so I think Munch Munch are a really good side, and maybe if they really, really want to sweat it out and prepare an anti-strat, I imagine Free Cinco aren't that detailed with their defaults or their go-tos. So I'd say the repetition would be there. You could identify that, counter it. So if they want to go through all that, it's possible that they could just find some cracks in what is probably a weak system for Free Cinco.
Yeah.
If they don't do that, I think they'll just get run over.
Yeah, so looking at this beforehand, I was maybe thinking a 2-1 to Free Cinco. The problem you run into is, and I realized this from the get-go, Munch Bunch 5 times have picked Overpass and won it 4 times. And if you look over at Free Cinco, Free Cinco have banned Overpass 4 times. So if Free Cinco want to win this, which obviously they do, they're just gonna stick to their overpass ban, because every other map for Munch Bunch is where they got into trouble in the seeding. So you look at Ancient or Inferno, they went 1-for-1. Their Inferno Behold is shocking. No, because they just get caught with nades out so often. That's why WIT, after being dumpstered on overpass, were able to just come back and beat them, because they just contact played every single time. They've won a game on Ancient, they've lost both games they played on Vertigo, so there is no like other room really for the map pool. Obviously I know they played Dust too, but that was against one top liner, so it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't
So
count.
I think it's gonna be a straight 2-0. If Munch Punch don't get overpass, they are going to struggle. in my
Yeah.
opinion. Quite hard.
And
Unless
to be
me,
fair, like Munch Bunch do play overpass
yeah,
very, very well. Like they are very good, but like the bands, if they just work out that well in Free Cinco's favor and they have the fragging, I don't really see it being that close
yeah.
even.
It is worth noting that Ancient was picked against them. They won it, but they are happy to float. Ancient is actually their most floated map outside of obviously ones getting picked sort of thing. Inferno and Ancient are the ones that sort of make it through the most, I want to say, that don't get played. So maybe they've been prepping something for Ancient, and that's why they're happy for it to go through. I don't think it's going to matter all too much. And then we move over to Washed and WIT Vikings plus Kerbenji. What are you sort of feeling with this one? It obviously it's going to go Wash, but it depends sort of how heavy you think it'll go.
I think it'll probably be a pretty convincing 2-0 for Wash, to be honest. Like as much as I could talk up Kerbenji's side, I like Kerbenji is by far the best WIT player, and I don't think he's really close to Drags or Bioko, to be honest.
Yeah,
Which just that is testament to how good Connor and Bioko are. But I mean, like WIT would really want a miracle to take a map, and like the fact that my team was very, very close to beating them, I don't think I'd take a round off Washed.
yeah.
I don't think they're on the same level at all, which is unfortunate. But I think Wash will cream them there.
I'll kind of throw slight like WIT could like everybody says that they could probably take them on Inferno. So I like everyone says they could take WIT on Inferno. So I think maybe if Inferno gets through, there could be the opportunity if Washed underestimate WIT. They might maybe play them close in Inferno or potentially even take it. But you know me, I'm kind of one to throw the sort of outrageous call in every now and again. Um,
Yeah,
they could do because Washed D side is very like mid roundy, and on Inferno mid roundy is kind of difficult because you get a pick on the site. It's not like a new area opens up.
mm,
It's just that you can go to the other side because someone rotated off. And WIT are very happy to play Kerbenji solo op top B
yeah,
on CT side.
yeah,
So if you kill him, you get B regardless. If you don't kill him, you gotta go A. So how good's your protocol for pushing back that opper and making
yeah.
them play a 3-2? It'll kind of come down to that. But yeah, I think Wash are gonna win. But I'm hoping it's a bit more interesting and it falls to 2-1 because they don't ban it. They've banned it once. So maybe it might sneak through. And if it sneaks through, and if WIT do take that map, it's just going to be another failing of the Irish veto system.
I would love to see like Kerbenji hit like his life form and just see exactly how he matches up against some of the goats of the scene.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, he's definitely getting close to being a contender, blah blah blah. But I don't think like right now, I don't think people would recognize him anywhere near Drags.
No, but this tournament has really made me sort of appreciate. I even had someone whenever I was sort of asking about the teams. I did have someone say that they just keep an eye on his crosshair because they think
Yeah,
he was a bit ropey. But I think that's just a testament to how good of a player he is.
yeah,
Potentially. But and then we come to what will be my match to watch.
yeah,
Uh, which is Miram Dons versus UICS. I'll kind of quickly just say I think this has the potential to be a 2-1 for UICS, which before the tournament would be an upset, but I think it's still potentially an upset. I don't know. I just sort of obviously Miram Dons went 0 for 2 against Munch Bunch, and I think UICS are a better drilled Munch Bunch.
yeah,
Um, maybe not as skilled as we have said, but I think if Miram Dons don't respect them, like Wash 2 UICS by backing the fuck off, letting them do whatever, no aggression against them at all. They threw in 1 or 2 rounds where they battle for short B control, but Miram Dons strike me as the sort of team who are just going to try to disrespect you and just sort of get in your face. And UICS aren't the team to do that against because their utility usage is good enough that they can
yeah,
sort of hold you back. And their aggression into you, they want you to take fights like that when you're on T side and they're on CT. Like they will send 2 or 3 people into you. And even watching against Washed, they fucking anti-stratted their pistol. I don't know how
mm,
they did it, but they had 3 people front bathrooms watching connector. Like there were people open to pointing and just nobody cared because they were just hard scoped on connector.
That's
And
so ballsy.
on their T side, I think they like made the perfect call or something on their T side, but they just whatever way the gunfights went, blah blah blah. But like Myrmidons, I don't think are gonna respect UICS, but I think that'll be to their detriment somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said there is kind of how I see the game going, which is UICS might make the perfect call, but they might not win those fights that you need to. You know, you can
Mm.
execute the site perfectly, but you can't get in without getting the kills. And I don't like. I'd find it hard for one of the UICS guys to beat Shirley coming onto a site or Complex with an AWP taking off
Yeah,
early picks. You know, your defaults only work so well, your executes only work up so well if you're setting up and Complex Dan just comes out and kills you before you do it with the AWP. You know,
yeah,
I the way you put it there though, I'd no longer think it'd be a 2-0. I think we're definitely going to 3 maps on this one, just because UICS will probably do their homework. They'll probably be able to figure out how can they disrupt aggressive play, how
yeah.
can they throw a spanner in the mix, and maybe UICS will just throw a complete spanner in the mix and change up how they're playing altogether to take off. Like I don't think Miram Dons would really be the team to adapt mid game to what's going on
Nah.
necessarily. So I don't know. I do think Miram Dons will just win it just on skill alone, but I could see it's either 2-0 or 2-1 for me.
Yeah, I'll definitely be looking forward to that game, 100%. Because yeah, if UICS can identify that Myrmidons are gonna get aggressive, they will take that into consideration and they won't give you the air to do so. Because obviously I can understand why they expected Wash to do it, but Washed obviously were smart enough to realize that that was going to happen. But with that, I think we've just sort of ran through everything. I'm guessing you have Magma taking the whole thing.
I don't think anyone will stop them. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would go Magma. Yeah,
And then how do you see? So obviously we have went Magma making it through playing Free Synco. Obviously Magma's then going to win that to get to the final. Washed making it through, and then so you have Myrmidons, I have UICS, but out
yeah,
of that, obviously Wash is going to win that. So are we
yeah.
expecting a Magma Washed final?
I could see it, and I think probably Washed or Free Synco would be the only teams that actually potentially contend against Magma. I think both of them would be an interesting matchup.
Yeah,
Maybe Wash like a Drags God game with Bioko as well. Maybe that would be enough to overwhelm, like maybe Magma not taking things as seriously, memeing around or something.
uh,
Maybe. But I think on paper, if Magma really wanted, I think they probably it's their tournament for the taking.
yeah. And obviously because so there's in the works for us to potentially do something, but I think the final, at least I think it could be like decided by one map potentially, sort of thing. But yeah, I think the rest of the playoffs is definitely set up to be interesting across the board. But it just goes to show you how important seeding is. Because if
Yeah.
WIT make it and get that second seed, they're looking at a much nicer game against UICS.
Yeah.
And then obviously Aroma are just already out before it's even started, just based off seeding. So yeah, something a lot of teams don't take into account and fuck around whenever they know they've gotten the playoffs. But definitely, in the Irish scene, you need to be getting every advantage you can get. But with that, I think we're just gonna fuck off because it is 20 to 12. Um, any closing thoughts? Anything you're looking to do? I know you've started. I believe it's Crypto Scam. You're doing a
Yeah.
podcast with Crypto Scam.
Not exactly. I wasn't going to plug it, but if anyone's interested in cryptocurrency, I've set up a business with a friend of mine. You can everything related to that you can find on my Twitter. I'll just plug that rather than anything directly.
Nah,
Uh,
you
s-
if you want to throw me a link for that, I'll throw it in the description.
that'd be sound.
Yeah.
Samaloy7700 is just the Twitter anyway, or
Yeah, and
Goofus Plus.
I throw yeah basically I'll throw in everyone's Twitter, but if you have specific links, like I shilled hard for all of Evan's extra stuff, his map making and all that.
All right.
Um,
Well, sure, you can link my website down there as well.
yeah, just
Happy
make sure
days.
you fire me. I'm not gonna put the effort in to find it myself. But
No.
anyway, yeah, that's been both of us just chatting bullshit for a while. Do look out. We are potentially. You might be involved in this, might not, might be whoever, but might potentially be doing something for the semi-finals and the finals on this channel. Definitely keep your eyes peeled. Again, as I always say, this is probably gonna hit over 100 views, and I only have 60 subs. So you are all smart enough. Do the maths. If you're not subbed, hurry up and sub. If you don't like it and you downvote it, that's more interactions. Thank you for feeding me. But with that, I think we'll just get the hell out of here, and thanks very much.
Thank you.